53. The tornado warning has been canceled. As of
I don't know if you
13:53,
can hear that. That's actually
the
our
tornado
emergency
warning
message.
I'm hearing that. Well,
canceled.
good afternoon, everybody. I'm Spence Graham with West Virginia University, and with me today is Alicia Shires from Washington and Lee University, and Ron Santana from Towson University. And Ron is a hero today because he's in the midst, as we speak right now, with a tornado warning at Towson University. So this is kind of interesting that we're doing it on emergency messaging, and we actually had an emergency message while we were waiting there. But I do want to welcome everybody on behalf of the Digital Signage Federation, who sponsors these events. I'm fortunate to sit on the board of directors for the Digital Signage Federation as the co-chairman of the Education Committee, along with Ryan Cahoy. And I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves here, and I'll follow up with some questions there. By the way, if you have questions for the panel, please type them in there and we'll answer them as best we can. Right now I'm going to go to Alicia Shires with Washington and Lee University. Alicia, tell us a little bit about your involvement there at Washington and Lee.
All right, well, thank you, Spencer. I am Alicia Shires, and as Spencer said, I am here at Washington Lee University, and we are actually in Lexington, Virginia, which is really in the central part of Virginia. We're in the mountains. So we have various kinds of weather things here, so we have been using weather alerts, so this will be fun for me to talk about as well. Part of what I do is the digital signage. I also work, I'm a classroom technology specialist here, so I work a lot with what goes on in the classroom, whether it be, a DVD player, document cameras, things like that, helping people to learn to use them, troubleshooting when there's problems, and then I also implement the digital signage program here at Washington Lee University. So that's a little about me.
Okay. I'll pitch to Ron. Ron, tell us a bit about what's going on at Towson.
Sure. I'm Ron Santana, and our tornado warning has been lifted, so that's good. But I am the manager of digital media services for university marketing and communications. I am trained as a videographer and a graphic designer, and I was brought in to help out with our digital signage on campus. We have a bit of a decentralized system here, so I was brought in from a marketing point of view to kind of unify and bring everybody together. Towson University is part of the University System of Maryland. We're about 30 minutes north of Baltimore, and we have about 22,000 students.
Very good. Well, I am Spence Graham with West Virginia University. We're located about 90 miles south of Pittsburgh, right across the Mason-Dixon line. And our network is about 8 years old, and we've created the network to have an emergency messaging system on it. Right now we have over 100 standard digital signs out on our campuses. We also have some wayfinding, walls of honor and donor walls, and some video walls. But lurking behind all those messages is an emergency message feature that is triggered by the West Virginia University Police Department in the event of an emergent situation on the campuses. We test quarterly at different times of the day, so that I was talking to Ron earlier, at different times of the day, so that we know what's going on with different things going on the network at different times during the day as far as traffic goes there. And then we evaluate each quarterly test after that. Alicia, tell us a little bit, how many digital signs do you have there at Washington and Lee?
Well, of course, we're much smaller than you are, so right now we're running at about 12 signs here at the university. We're kind of in a pilot program since, 2009 is when we came on board, so we've been doing it a little while. But things are slow to roll out sometimes, so we still kind of think of ourselves as in a pilot program.
Very good. Ron, how about you? How many do you have there at Towson?
Sure, we have about 80 signs across campus. I'd say maybe about 13 wayfinding signs, and I'd say we've had these had signage on campus for about maybe about 5 or 6 years now.
Okay. Well, now where are your signs located strategically on your campuses right now? Where are you targeting?
Sure. Well, there are all over the place. What we've found is we got into signage when we had a new College of Liberal Arts building being created, and it was really a great building. It's LEED certified, and we used all these great materials and really put a lot of money into making this building as nice as it could be. Part of that was the architects thought it'd be great to add digital signage, so that's kind of how we got into the signage industry. What we found, however, is that the architects and builders don't always know the best spots to put signs. So they put signs where they thought there would be great, pretty good dwell time, but that wasn't always the case. So we found students kind of walking by signs a lot and missing things. So we have a small digital signage team here that has kind of come on board, and so what we do now is if there are new installations, we do try to encourage the best spots for as much dwell time as we go. We do find them mostly kind of around entryways to buildings, even though I still don't know if that's the best spot, but that seems to be a popular space for us as people are coming or leaving or entering a building.
Very good. Alicia, how about you? How are you making that determination as far as where to place your digital signage?
Well, I think Ron said it best. Sometimes other people decide, and then that's not the best decision. So we had this similar thing happen with where we were going to put some wayfinding, but for some reason the architect thought it might be good at the back of the building, which is odd because generally people enter in the front of the building. But he was sort of thinking along the lines of where students enter the building. So particularly in this building, students do enter in the back. It's where the classrooms are. But what we discovered is people that actually would use wayfinding really enter in the front. Students, by the first or second day of class, usually by the end of the first week, they know who their professors are. They know where their classrooms are. So that wayfinding wasn't serving any purpose for them if they did use it after the first week or two of class. So clearly a trial and error method there.
I'll jump in, Spence. We had the same exact problem where we had builders and architects think, oh, wayfinding would be great, but Alicia's right. Our students don't use it. They know after the second day, they know where they're going. And we actually find that our wayfinding probably isn't getting used as much as we would like.
Well, one of the reasons I was asking that is that I know that here at the UVU, when we are putting in any deployment in any business or any building, such as the College of Business and Economics or the law school or one of the departments, we're looking, because of that emergency messaging feature, we're looking for a, one of those critical choke points to where you're intercepting the most amount of people at any given time, whether that might be at the entrance of a building or entrances of a building. It might be at an elevator bank where people tend to queue up for any period of time. Food courts, the student union, but a digital sign at the back of a hallway where only 2 people going to their office every day, is probably not the best usage of the real estate that we have here on campus. So we always look for those key pedestrian choke points as where we cover with digital signage, because all of our digital signage switches into emergency messaging mode in under 10 seconds if the University Police Department pushes the button there. Now here, I'm going to ask you all this question, and I'll just go ahead and answer it for myself. We utilize a software program called E2 Campus, here for our method of triggering the emergency alert. It is a threefold alert in that it triggers our digital signage, it triggers a text message, and it triggers an email message. Now, when we do our tests, we always track those quarterly tests from the time University Police pushed the button to when we actually received the email or when we received the text message there, so we know what those latency times are, and from test to test we can actually say, well, what happened here that we just didn't come as quickly as it did before. So we really highly value our quarterly testing because it allows us to be prepared. And we've had a couple emergencies in the past on the campus, and like I say, we track those as well, but we certainly track all of our testing. So, Ron, what type of software do you use there with emergency messaging? Your sound's not on, Ron.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we also have E2 Campus here. Fortunately, we have not ever had to use the digital signage emergency messaging. And we've tested it a few times, not as much as I would like, not as much as Spence does. But there's something I like to try to get our Office of Public Safety to use more or think about more. They do test all of our other messaging quite a bit. Actually, just this week we tested our external siren system, which was great. You can hear it all over campus.
Great.
But we haven't tested our signage messaging system, and it's I feel like maybe the Office of Public Safety and the campus hasn't really called on that the power of signage, and it really is powerful. I mean, it is a lot of different places on campus, and probably could be utilized a lot more than how we're using it now.
Good. Alicia, how do you do yours at Washington and Lee?
Well, this is great because you did all my talking for me, Spencer. We use E2 Campus, and we pretty much follow your same protocol. The only thing is you test a little more often than we do. We do test once a year, and it's about the beginning of the year when we get all our new students in. They're signing up for the alerts through E2 Campus and things like that. And then, gosh, I guess maybe it was last week. It's been very recently. And within the last 2 weeks, we did a test. And the messages go out, you know how that works, and it hits the sign. We have it come out. It's very generic looking because I wanted it to look very different. In fact, I've had people say, oh, I saw the message on the sign. We actually use it not only for emergency warnings, but also for weather. But not so much thunderstorms on the way, but more like last couple of years we've gotten a lot of snow. And we have quite a few kids that live off campus. But we do have some kids that are on campus, so that we're sending out those alerts for the off-campus. At the same time, to alert the kids on campus, don't go out to class. So those messages will come up and hit the sign, and they'll stay on for an hour. And then if there's another message, it'll come right in behind it. But generally, we let that message roll for an hour, and that'll go out at 7 in the morning. And then we'll come in, one of us, and We'll come in from the web and then put up another note that'll run, in the presentation. But basically, we're doing the same thing you are with the E2 Campus, and it's working great.
Very good. Well, that is, for anybody that doesn't surprise me in some ways that we're all three using E2 Campus. It sounds like it's a fairly popular notification system. I know there are a number out there, and they vary in what their requirements are and what they can do and what their cost is. Now, what happens is E2 Campus basically sends out, if there is an emergency alert, sends out an XML feed that our server picks up and then triggers all of our signage with a big, if it's an emergency, it's a big red background that that there is an emergent situation there. It tells basically the same thing that's in the text message and the email message about what the emergent situation on the campus is and what we want you to do, whether you shelter in place or whether you evacuate, something like that. We've only had to trigger it for some nasty weather a couple times there, and we've been fortunate there. Well, we had there was and it always amazes me how people view an emergency message. We had what they referred to as a strong-armed robbery. This has been a number of years ago, but it wasn't actually on campus. It was across the street, literally across the street from the campus. Well, and of course, most people that have bad things in their heart decide to do them at really unreasonable hours of the night. And so at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, the button gets pushed and people are alerted. And some people didn't like the idea that we woke them up to tell them that something happened across the street. You know, I am somewhat agnostic on that, but my feeling is that if somebody asks me my opinion, I think it's important to let your campus know when there's a bit of a problem there. Now, we use four-way software to drive our digital signage network, and that interfaces with the E2 campus alerting software there. How about you, Ron? What do you use for your main software for your digital signage that integrates?
Sure. We started out as with Cisco software many years ago. We have since moved on to a company called Industry Weapon. We still have a number of Cisco players on campus. We have since moved to HP players, but Industry Weapon is our software solution here at Towson.
Okay, how about you, Alicia?
Well, here we go. Rise Vision is what we've been starting. We started with, and what we've been using all along. So yeah, it's been great.
Okay. I got a question in there. It says, have you considered using digital signs in a location-aware context? For example, in an evacuation, different signs would suggest location-appropriate routes for evacuation. Yeah, number one, we have on ours WVU News and Information, which is kind of our official WVU News folks there. We have a process in place to where they can live tweet. It's closed only for their tweets, but they can put live tweets up on that emergency message to update the campus during a live emergent event. They're on there, so that's very good, so that you can tell people in a timely way, okay, you know, get the heck out of Dodge, or, you know, shelter in place, or whatever we need to have them do. At the same time, you know, that we about every 18 months is what we've been doing this, and it's been fun. It's called a tabletop, and what it is there's about 20 to 23 of us that are involved in emergency messaging here on the campuses in one way or another. We all get together in a room, and the WVU Chief of Police has a scenario, and he's got all the first responders in the room. It's really interesting to see how everybody plays a different part in an emergency situation, and we found that to be a very, very valuable tool, because I know what my part is, but I don't know necessarily how my part, you know, impacts somebody else that's involved in that emergency message. It also helps me understand the process that the police department's going through, what our administrators are going through in these decision making. The crafting of the message that goes out is critical, you know, so that you have good, solid information. So I would highly recommend a tabletop periodically, because it really keeps you on your toes. It says, how long does the emergency message stay on your displays, and how do you stop the message from showing? Great question. I'm going to pitch that to Ron first, and then to Alicia. Sure.
That's a good question, and fortunately we haven't had to really try this. But it's hard to keep. I'm trying to phrase the answer correctly. From what I understand, and our Office of Public Safety controls the message when it goes out and when it comes down. So with E2 Campus, if I understand correctly, and Spence can certainly correct me, the emergency message will stay up until the quarter hour, and then it will come away. It will leave the signage unless the operator sends out a kill message to bring that message down. And then Spence, maybe you can just clarify if I'm correct with that.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say on ours, and somebody else just sent a great question. It says, and I'll get to it here about do you create emergency templates or create them as the emergency is occurring. The way that we do it is the WVU Police Department are the ones that push the button to actually trigger the emergency alert. Again, that's going to trigger our digital signage. It's going to send out a text message, and it's going to send out an email. And so what happens is that emergency message plays until either the WVU Police Department puts up a new updated message, or until they issue a kill message to take it down off the signage there. As far as the templates go, we do have a standard template that we use, so that number one, 99.99% of the time we're playing the generic WVU messaging and marketing information of what's going on campuses in certain buildings, site-specific content. But in the event of an emergency, we have a big it pulses. It's a kind of a pulsing red overlay that comes up on the screen, and there is a field in there that whatever the emergency message is filled in there, and then we drive them to the website to get more information. In other words, we don't want people necessarily camped out in an emergent situation in front of a digital sign. We want to say, okay, we got a problem here on campus. We need you to or stay away from a certain building there. For more information, go to www.wvu today or something, where there's going to be up-to-the-minute information on there, so that we tell the people what to do, and then where they can get more information. But that is kind of on a templated thing. Now, for a weather emergency, we use more of a greenish background that kind of glows, and that way, you're separating visually what an emergency is and what a weather concern is there. Of course, Ron, for some of you that just joined us here, while Ron and I were just talking here before we went live, they actually at Towson University had a tornado alert. So what I'm saying, this stuff gets serious real quick, but it's we're getting some good information here.
Hey Spence, I can just chime in about the templates. Our Office of Public Safety does have pre-created messages depending on what type of situation we would have, with the idea that we don't want our call center or the Office of Public Safety to be typing a message while there's emergency going on. So yes, we do have things pre-created so that depending on what type of emergency there is, they can just push a button for that.
Okay. Very good. Alicia, how about you?
I was going to say, I'll also add, thank you again for telling my story, Spencer. It makes it so nice for me to be on this panel. We do everything pretty much the same way you do, except we don't kill the message. We have decided to go ahead and leave it on the sign for 1 hour, unless something else comes in behind. So if there should be some sort of catastrophe on campus, and then we have to issue an update, the update would run in behind. Otherwise, so far we've been lucky enough to only have to use it for extreme weather emergencies or closings.
Right.
I think last year or the year before there was going to be 18 inches of snow coming, so we did put that out. It stayed up for 1 hour, and that was my fear in the beginning. I didn't, of course, it was fine to use it for a catastrophe on campus, but I didn't want them to announce, thunderstorms tonight. And we're in Virginia. The weather in Virginia, I could do it every day in the summer. It's hot today, hot tomorrow, might rain, might not. So I didn't want those coming out every day and picking up the signs for an hour. But we've strictly, reduced them to just an actual closing, or when it's going to be 18 inches of snow, we do put that out maybe one time. And that's worked well. It stays up for an hour, and then, like I said, somebody from our staff, we're at home, so that's convenient.
Right.
We can log in from the web, and then we'll go ahead and put up something with the presentation.
Right. I have another question for you, Alicia. Someone is asking, Alicia, are you using the free version of Rise Vision? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
No, we're not. But there is a free version that is great to get you started. We actually pay a yearly fee because we have so many different people using our digital signage. I kind of implement it, and I help people when they're going to buy a digital sign. If there's a problem, usually they'll call me, and like a hardware type problem, or if there's an intricate software thing, I'll come in. But the rest of the time, we like to use their customer support, which is great, and we let the individual departments use their own signs. They put up their own information, so we pay that yearly fee to ask questions to them. So it's quite convenient. We've actually, as I say, I've abused them. So yeah, the free version is a great way to start out and see if you like it.
Great.
We've had great luck with them.
Good. I know that in the future there are several other Google Hangouts for higher education that I want to see us discuss, and one of them is on different types of software, and certainly Sole Source is a very significant player in that market right now. I want to ask a couple other questions here. As far as somebody has asked, who paid for the system? In other words, how are you funding your emergency messaging and your digital signage there on your campuses, since all this kind of works together? Ron, how about you?
Sure. We kind of started out very decentralized here at Towson. So what I mean is that the individual colleges, their buildings, if they want signage, they pay for the displays and pay for them to be hung and mounted. Whereas our IT group, our Office of Technology Services, they actually are paying for the licensing for the software. Now, our Office of Public Safety, they pay for the E2 campus and the emergency messaging. So it's very decentralized, which maybe is not the best thing because a lot of different people have different ideas of what they want to do. So it's kind of hard to bring everybody together and get them on the same page. But it's certainly possible. But yeah, the budget is kind of spread out throughout different departments.
How about you, Alicia? How are you all handling that at Washington and Lee?
It's similar to Ron. E2 Campus is a separate budget, and then generally we've been able to kind of lump the digital signage in with a project. So we're in a perpetual state of renovation here. So as we begin to do another building, we'll add in some digital signage. Otherwise, the departments can also put in a capital request to, and some departments have done that to install digital signage in their department. So it all really depends on, is it a renovation or is it going to be a capital request?
Okay, and that's kind of the way we are right now. It depends on the type of project that it is. If it's, for instance, at the student union, that particular department that is in charge of that will kind of foot the bill for the digital signage, just like the College of Business and Economics. If they want to add some more signs, they're going to be utilizing their budgets for that as well. They make all the purchases through us because we have the relationships with the vendors and that sort of stuff. We maintain the enterprise license for the software license that everybody uses there, and then we work with, I have one designer and one IT person on our team, and we work with their department or their college designers when it comes time to putting the designs on the digital signage in their areas. As far as the emergency messaging software, the E2 Campus, the WVU Police Department has that built into their budget for that annual license there. A couple other questions that I have is, how long has your system been up and running? And looking back, if you were starting from scratch today, would you do anything different? Ron?
Yes, I do a lot of things different for sure. Like I said, I was brought in representing the marketing department on campus. I was brought into our signage project probably a good 3 years after it was started. So I think, like I said, there were some decisions that were made that maybe weren't the best as far as like installation and placement and that sort of stuff. So Yeah, if I could start over, it'd be great to have. I think I really would prefer a centralized system and have one group really manage the whole thing. Like I said, having different departments involved really kind of makes it hard to get everyone to play on the same field.
Right. How about you, Alicia?
We've been on since 2009 with digital signage, and I was the one that we picked the companies and things. So I started in the beginning with it. So I kind of look at it as my baby. So I was lucky enough to get ahead of the crowd, and it made it nice. So it's kind of, I had a direction that I wanted to take it, and it made it nice that it was going in my direction. But so far, we've had good luck with implementation. You know, a few bumps in the road, like the wayfinding that didn't work out so well. But they were minor bumps, things we learned about installation and things like that. Again, were minor bumps. So we've had really good luck so far. Like I said, we have one type of software that we're using, and all the different departments can log in and manage their own signs. There are some things I may kind of change a little about that. We kind of all see our own signs. I may create some sub-companies later on, but those are minor things. So far, I think we've had really good luck.
Good. I had another question come in here. Can digital signage be made accessible for the blind or visually impaired? Is that a consideration that must be addressed there? I'm going to pitch that to Ron first.
I would love to know if there's a way to make it accessible. I don't know if there is a way. No, I think is my answer.
Okay.
I'd love to know if there's a way.
Okay, Alicia?
And I am not sure there is a way as well, particularly because I feel like that's going to involve some audio, and pretty much where most of our signs are, as I'm thinking about them now, we keep the audio off. Particularly they're in the dorms, so they'd be right outside a student's
Right.
bedroom. And I've noticed when we would run some videos and things like that, I would come along sometimes before I locked out the buttons, but students would actually go and turn the sound down because they're trying to sleep, and that video would be popping up at night. So I'm not sure how that would work. That would be very interesting to investigate.
Well, I know that we've had a little bit of experience here at WVU on that. It kind of goes back to the conversation I had a little bit earlier, is that unfortunately bad people do bad things at unreasonable hours of the night there. And at the time, we had all of the any kind of emergency message had a little bit of a tone, an audio tone. Well, some of this digital signage was situate to dorm rooms, and 3 o'clock in the morning when it's going off for 20 minutes at a time, you got a lot of students saying, "Really, really," and we caught a little bit of static about that. However, what we have thought about doing is actually, depending on where digital signage is located in a facility, it might be situate near a classroom, and so we're very sensitive to using very much in the way of audio. The reason being, you don't want to distract somebody that's in a classroom situation. We time our audio content to usually be played at the noon hour or maybe after 5 o'clock, something like that. But what we do when people do create video for this, we, number one, try and keep it a very short video, 20, 30 seconds, and we encourage them to let the video itself tell the message there, so that you don't necessarily have to have audio accompanying that all the time. As far as the accessible for the blind or visually impaired, that came up, believe it or not, and somebody was wanting us to put the closed captioning on it. Well, that was, I can assure you, that was a spirited conversation, especially when you have people working so much on very serious designs there that comes up there. And so it was pointed out to us that we wouldn't necessarily have to do that, because the same information that's up there on the digital signage is also, say, on a website or something that is already accessible for visually impaired. That, but
Hey, Spencer,
yes.
I'll just jump in real quick. We also keep our volume down on all of our displays throughout the campus. And the few times we have put up videos or short PSAs, we do create burned-in captions for everything that's spoken. So we do create captions for the hearing impaired.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. I got another one in here. I think we're having fun today, folks, because we got lots of questions coming in. I've got one here. It says, can you touch on how you tackle different aspect ratios on various signs for emergency alerts? Do you have multiple templates for each emergency instance for a mixed bag of portrait versus landscape orientations, or even high def versus lower, older resolution models there? Ron, what do you think?
Well, we actually have one aspect ratio, and everything we have is landscape orientation. We have not ventured into doing portrait signage, so we've actually have kept our signage pretty standard. So we don't have that problem actually.
Okay, great. Alicia?
Well, we do have that problem. We're all landscape, though, so I've only got half the problem. But we've been doing this, I guess, since 2009. So, and technology-wise, that's 100 years. So we actually have some old 1360 displays. So that was a problem when we started working with the alerts. We've got 1920, and we have some 1360. So with our software and with our vendor, everything comes out CAP, and everybody speaks CAP. So does E2 Campus, and so does our vendor. But implementation is different a lot of times from vendor to vendor. So we worked with our vendor on how to actually make that hit the sign, and then at the same time realize what aspect ratio that sign has, and then set the alert accordingly. So it was a little give and take for a little while, but we finally got that rolling. So, but now it runs flawlessly. It hits all the signs all the same time, and it looks right.
Great. This is great information. One of the things that we originally started out here at WV All in a horizontal aspect ratio there, and we would, when other people were wanting to make designs for a poster or something like that to put up there, we gave them the dimensions that we needed that to be such and such a dimension, say at least 72 DPI. We needed it to be RGB, and we needed it mashed down into a JPEG there, so they could create it in Photoshop or something like that, as long as it came out as a JPEG. Well, now, 8 years later, we're switching over because of touch interactivity coming on. We've changed the type of monitors that we're using, and instead of mounting them horizontally up high, they're now going to be ADA compliant down lower, and we're going to do it vertical so that we can utilize the touch screen, because the idea being is we want to try and kill several birds with one stone, as far as not only having standard digital signage with an emergency messaging feature, but also that we can interact from a wayfinding standpoint there here in the future. We're in the process of updating our original wayfinding solution there much more. As I want to stay close to our time there, we try and keep these at 45 minutes. Of course, we're having a great conversation here with great questions coming in. One thing I'd like to ask Alicia and Ron is, what kind of things do you do to stay on top of the technology in digital signage for higher education? There, Alicia, how about you?
Well, first, one of the things I love to attend is InfoComm every year, and they usually have a great digital signage pavilion, so you've got all kinds of great information there. And they have usually some seminars or some sort of breakout session that I usually like to attend, where I can meet with this one that I went to last year was kind of a roundtable discussion of all of us in a room. It's fun to hear other people and whether there's some other problems. And sometimes it's nice to know that you're not the only one with the same problem. So it's great to interact with not only someone else in higher education, but someone else in retail or something like that is having a similar problem that we're having in higher education with getting this going. I use a lot of digital signage today. Lots of great white papers out there. So that's a great resource.
Great, great. Thank you. Ron, how about you? What are some of the things that you do to stay up?
Sure. I don't get to stay up and as much up to date on things as I'd like to because I am kind of juggling a couple other jobs here. But what I found LinkedIn groups have quite a few groups for not only signage but also higher education media and higher education marketing. And I've found a lot of interesting articles and discussions via that route.
Great. Well, I know that for me, I'm very active with the Digital Signage Federation, and I encourage everybody to check out the Digital Signage Federation website. That we have a very strong higher education vertical market presence there on that website, as well as other vertical markets such as retail or fast food, things like that. So I also attend annually the Digital Signage Expo, and that is a great place for folks in higher education to actually get your hands on the latest technology, talk to the people that invented it, talk to the people that know how it can be used on your campus. I take my whole team out there. I've found that we have gotten far more out of that than it cost us to go out to the annual conference there. So I would definitely suggest the Digital Signage Federation website, the Digital Signage Expo site. I also read the Daily Do online, it's Daily DOOH, as well as 16 by 9 is a good blog, and it helps you kind of stay up on some of the emerging technologies there. Well, folks, we've had a great opportunity today to I appreciate very much Alicia and Ron's participation. We certainly miss Ryan Cahoy here today. He's having to pitch hit down in Orlando, and he was going to moderate for us, so I had to put on both hats as both a panelist and a moderator. I appreciate everybody putting up with me, and I do encourage you to be a regular attender to our digital signage hangouts for higher education. This is a good way for us to share information. I've listed everybody's email addresses here if you want to contact Alicia or Ron or myself offline. We're always glad to help any way we can. I also want to let you know that on October 29th at 2 p.m. we're going to be having another higher education Google Hangout, specifically on the topic of Google Chromebox. Google is getting into digital signage, and I don't know, anytime Google is doing something, we better have our ears peaked up there for that. I think that's going to be very, very interesting. We're going to have Ryan Cahoy is going to moderate that. Scott Lawyer, who is an instructional technology specialist at Siena College, is going to be on that panel. Luke Barber, a manager of IT systems and risk management at the University of Toronto, Mississauga, is going to be on there. And Wayne Fulton, who is assistant director of IT for Manor ISD. Manor ISD is a K through 12 institution. So we're going to get a good flavor there and see what Google's up to. And how Google is, if you've seen these Google Chrome boxes, what are they? I think they're $179 a piece. So that's something interesting for us all to get in there on October 29th at 2 p.m. right here, and we'll be sending out some more information on that. Again, I want to thank Alicia and Ron very much, and this This session will be archived on the Digital Signage Federation website for future use. So Ron, if you'll say goodbye to everybody, I'll let Alicia do it right after you then.
All right, thank you very much for having me, Spence, and please feel free to email me if you have any questions about what we do here at Towson.
Very good. Alicia?
Oh, that's great. Yes, I'm so glad everyone could attend. I'm so glad I could attend. So thank you, Spencer, for being our moderator as well. And anyone can email me. That'll be fine.
Okay. Well, again, thanks, everybody, and we will see you next time for Google Chromebox. We'll see you now. Bye-bye.